My name is unusual, Kirsten. You don't see it very often, especially my age and younger. And one day I was wandering around SeaWorld and I went through the food line and the girl working the cash register was named Kirsten. So I asked her how she got her name, and she said that the house she grew up on was called Kirsten Place, and her parents just liked the name, so they named her after the street. But what's really funny about the story is my dad is the one who named that street. He named 2 streets in Spring Valley, Karen Lane after my sister and Kirsten Place after me, because he was a developer and he got to name the streets in that town.
I was actually abroad in New Zealand and I was talking to a stranger about how I wanted to go to a hiking trail further off. And she gave me her car for the day. Just because I wanted to go to a hiking trail that was far away. She didn't even know if I could drive, let alone who I was, and just gave me her car. So I definitely remember her. She was incredibly kind.
So once, many years ago, when I was a student in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was crossing a street near my apartment in a not so great area, and a man approached me and took my scarf and squeezed it across my neck in an effort to attack me. And I was frightened, and I fought him off and ran home. I've never forgotten him.
What were the feelings you were left with after that?
Of a state of vulnerability that I'd not experienced before.
The one stranger I remember was in a grocery store. The one in front of me noticed that we didn't have money to pay for our food, so she paid for all of our food. It was over $100. And I didn't know her name or anything. She just paid for everything and walked away. I've never seen her again, but she stays in my head. And I thank God for her because she did help out a lot when we needed her.
I remember back in my hometown in East Texas, this stranger randomly ran up to me without saying a word. To this day, I still don't know his name. Ran up to me, handed me $20 and took off in the opposite direction.
You have to get that.
Nobody came running up to it, so I kept it.
It was 4th of July, 1999. The Starbucks in Coronado. I was sitting, enjoying some tea, obviously kind of looking around to see if there are any beautiful women. In walks a beautiful woman with her parents, no less. And I found a way to start a conversation with her, and well, nearly 20 years later, we're still together.
I met a stranger in an airport who was a retired nurse that had saved about 80 children from a plane crash, and that left an indelible episode. She was a young nurse, a lieutenant in the Air Force, and she was evacuating Amerasian children from Vietnam at the fall of the Capitol, and the plane crashed on takeoff, and she saved the children. No matter how badly injured she was, she put up with the pain to rescue those who were dependent upon her, and that made a lot of difference for me.
So I was on a cruise and I was just sitting looking at the view. I had lost my family. I didn't know where they were, so I was just trying to watch the ocean and watch everything. And I was kind of at a very confused point in my life, not really knowing what I wanted to do with it. And this random lady just came up to me with her bottle of wine and a book in her hand, and she just starts talking to me about her life, and she was telling me about how she was a nurse in Spain, and she was doing public health and teaching moms how to breastfeed and take care of their babies. And I didn't know her name, she didn't tell me anything about her. She was just very happy and relaxed, and she just walked away and told me to have a nice day, and that was one time when I knew that I wanted to do nursing. So that was pretty cool.
So you're studying nursing right now?
Yep, that's what I'm doing right now, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I was ice skating and there was a little 5-year-old girl. She walked up to me and she goes, "Can I just tell you something? You are the most beautiful girl I've seen today," and it literally made my entire month, because I don't know, it was just I never got a compliment like that from someone so little, and I didn't think it would matter, because I don't know, it just did.
So many years ago, I was coming back for a camping trip with my family, and this was pretty late at night, so I was sleeping in the back seat. My brother was there as well, and for some reason, which I don't understand to this day, the door opened at the back, and I actually kind of flew out while we were on the middle of the road, going at probably 40 to 50 miles an hour. And so I landed on the road, but at this time I'm kind of still sleeping. I'm just like getting like what just happened. And my parents just drove ahead because they didn't notice until maybe 5 minutes later, where my mom heard the door kind of making a whoosh sound at the back and looked back and she said, "Oh my God, where's Anant?" They went to the side and stopped immediately. And at this point they're like not even sure where I am, what happened. But luckily enough, someone who was driving up stopped because they saw something in the middle of the road that resembled a person. And they got out of the car, helped me to the side, and I'm completely lost and crying at this point. And they walked me back while my parents walked back, so they kind of met in the middle. And yeah, I don't remember his face, but for obvious reasons, that's someone who's basically changed my life because I wouldn't be here, per se, if they ran over me. And yeah, my parents like said thank you to them in the newspaper and stuff like that, so some pretty cool and crazy stuff.
So I had someone message me on Instagram a long time ago, and we kind of befriended each other, and then maybe a year later they randomly messaged me and asked if I wanted to go to the Bahamas, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird, but it was for a competition that he won for Tinder, to where we would go on our like first date to swim with sharks for the Discovery Channel. So I met a complete stranger in Florida, and we flew with a bunch of people and went to the Bahamas to swim with sharks, and that was the first time I met him.
I went to hike with my parents. It was really hot outside and we forgot our water bottles, and he was pretty old and was sitting on a bench, and I was pretty dehydrated, and he was like getting some water out of a well and putting it in his hands, and he gave it to me in his hands to drink. And I was so relieved that I can get some water. I didn't even speak his language. He was Greek or something. And yeah, he gave us all water. Like, that was really nice, and I remember it to this day. Yeah.
So you all drank water out of his hands?
Yeah, we did.
Actually, a gentleman I met about 6 months ago, and he's just complete, I guess you could say, homeless or just not doing too well. We just had a great conversation for about a half an hour to an hour, and it's honestly the most frequent memory that I think about every now and again.
Do you remember what you guys talked about?
Family mostly. He told me about his kids and how he missed them and how he wished he could do more for them, and I was telling him about how I wish I had a family like that one day, being able to raise my kids in a healthy home, really. He just, even given where he was, he seemed as inspiring as many of the people that I know today who are doing much better in life than even I am, to be honest. And he saw life in a way that people don't truly understand it anymore, which is everyone is equal.
I remember a woman coming up to me asking me how to use Facebook, but she didn't have her phone, so I couldn't really help her. But then she gave me $1 anyway and then just walked away. I know, it made me happy that things like that just sort of happen. Sort of like this right now.
The stranger I remember, I was about 4 or 5 years old, and a guy broke into my house. He came through my window and he tried to abduct me, and then the neighborhood men all jumped on him and tackled him, and the cops came and arrested him. So that's a stranger that I remember. And as the story goes, I was asleep during most of the incident.
I was in Madrid airport. I've been visiting my brother who was living there. And me and my friend were in the queue, and there was this lady in front of us, maybe, I don't know, 60 something. And she just turned around and she started talking to us about The Power of the Universe and The Secret, which was actually the first time I ever heard of that book. But she was it was really bizarre, because she kind of just appeared, dropped all this wisdom. Me and my friend sort of sat there, didn't say anything, and then she left, and we actually never saw her again. And it was really bizarre, because we were both kind of questioning whether it was even real or if she was ever there. But it had a very profound effect on both of us.
We were camping and hiking and whatever. We had seen this lady hiking the trail by herself who was maybe in her 50s, and I thought it was cool. I thought if I was single in my 50s, I'd still go out and do this cool stuff, you know. And it was weird, because when we were camping, then she actually had the camp spot next to us and came over and asked to share our fire, so she didn't have to make her own or whatever. I thought it was cool because, I don't know, I have a big family and I've never done anything like by myself before, and so I was like, that is I'm gonna do that. I can do that. I could go hiking. I could invite myself to strangers' campfire or something like that, you know. So
I went to church once, and this lady, I was like probably 10 years old, sat right next to me. Never knew her, never met her. Obviously, she's a stranger. And she gave me $1 to give into the basket, and she just told me that she will pray for me for her rest of her life. And that just stuck to me because I didn't know her, and I told her I'll pray for you as well. And I wasn't even like I didn't believe in religion in the moment, and I still don't. But I'm like, God, if you are real, like take care of this woman.
I met her at a camp, and we were doing this exercise of vulnerability and being able to make eye contact with somebody you don't know. We were in this group of 50 people. Her and I were moving in the circle, moving from person to person. And when her and I met eyes, we both just started crying. At that time, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother, and so when I saw her, I felt like I saw an older version of my mom. In that time, I really desired to have a better connection, better relationship with my own mother. That's just something that was going on in my deep self.
The stranger was here at the park, and it was an older gentleman that we stopped right over here to actually take a picture of us, believe it or not. And just did a fantastic job. He just stopped and like asked all the right questions, and like, you know, he was a little eccentric to say the least, but he did a great job of taking the pictures. And it just, when I was walking by right now, I just happened to remember him, and he happened to ask that question, so it's just interesting.
I was actually looking for a rock shop close to our area, and I found this guy that has a rock shop in his basement. He took me on a hunting trip for flint. In that 2-hour, actually 4-hour trip, we found out we were, I think, probably brothers of another mother. We became instant best friends. So it kind of seems like I've never met a stranger that I didn't like, and some of them become best friends.